Joining me here right now on the Rich Eisen Show is a man who played several seasons in the National Football League. He's an expert on offensive line play, and I just love following him on Twitter, and he's got a terrific podcast of his own called Geoff Schwartz is Smarter Than You. Geoff Schwartz back here on the Rich Eisen Show. How are you, Geoff?
I am fantastic. Thanks for having me back.
All right. What did you make of the Thursday night game? What do you got for me?
So every Thursday night game that we dread ends up being terrific, by the way. It happens every single time. Oh, my God, the Panthers and Texans are playing next Thursday night, and that game will be great. Look, very simply, the Giants should have won that game, right? Daniel Jones played maybe the best complete game he has since he got in the NFL, right? His rushing, his passing. The Giants' offensive line played really well in the second half of that game against a Washington defense that we expected a lot from this year. And guess what? They still lost, right? Like, you just can't lose games like that in the NFL. It's what bad teams do, and we keep waiting for the Giants to not be bad anymore. They have the most losses in the NFL since 2017. The start of that, they have the most in the NFL. They're like 18-49 or something in that time span. They play bad football, and we saw last night in big moments they played the worst football, right? They force a turnover, a great Bradbury, great play, right? He jumps the route. He gets the ball, and what do? They take 11 seconds off the clock, go 5 yards to kick a field goal. And then they come out, obviously, and how do you jump off? You're literally looking at the ball, if you're the zero technique, essentially, on the center. You're not blocking that kick, buddy. I'm just letting you know. As someone who did field goal protection forever, you ain't blocking that kick. I'm just letting you know. And you jumped outside. Like, things like that cannot happen, especially when the coach, Joe Judge, brands himself as this like disciplinarian and we're not going to make mistakes. And then in week one, Joe Judge throws a challenge flag on a scoring review play that gets challenged automatically. Like, you keep making mistakes and we keep being told that this is a different Giants team. I haven't seen it yet. So if you're a Giants fan, you have every right to be upset this morning about your team after last night.
Well, what is the assessment of the offense, the play calling, the number of X's and O's people that I follow on Twitter, and I consider you one of them too, Geoff, very critical of Jason Garrett's system and offense and not being diverse enough, which is what we heard all the time in Dallas for all those years as well. Is that an accurate charge? Because, I mean, the first 15 last night looked pretty good. And Daniel Jones did play, as you point out, a complete game. He was running free without a holding penalty, calling it back. I mean, put it all together. I mean, Slayton was wide open. I mean, how much of this can be put on Garrett when it's all said and done?
I'm not sure last night was really Garrett's fault. I mean, I think we look at the end of the game situation where, again, they wasted a whole 11 seconds and kicked the field goal. And, people put that on Jason Garrett. But that really comes back to the philosophy of the coach, right? If the coach wants to be aggressive there, then I would imagine that would be radioed into the offense to be more aggressive. I do think the Giants are generally, a pretty boring offense, right? They're not very imaginative. But they've drafted to be that way, right? They drafted a running back. They drafted a quarterback who is not, I think, at his best, is average in the NFL. That's what their offense is going to be with the personnel they have. And I know it's frustrating for Giants fans, but you signed an offensive coordinator who was that way in Dallas, right? Like, what do you expect? The thing we do in the NFL, which is, I guess, normal nature to think that coaches are going to just change who they are. And some do, right? Andy Reid has done a good job with that. Bill Belichick's always been adaptable. But Jason Garrett has been in the NFL a long time. His offense at the end of his time in Dallas was pretty boring. And against the Giants, guess what? It's still pretty boring. Like, what do we expect this to be? That's who he is. That's what his philosophy is. Just kind of conservative, run the ball, don't make mistakes, which is fine. You should win some games doing that. But you have to be dynamic on offense now. That's not what the Giants are.
So do you really think Daniel Jones at his best is average? I mean, because he has above average skills, don't you think? I mean, he can be a two-way threat, in the same way that we're and rightfully so, say Ryan Tannehill's praises. I mean, Jones has the same game in many ways. He's fast and he's elusive, and if he's accurate, and he's thrown almost 64% of his balls, hasn't thrown an interception yet. I mean, those are numbers I would take if I'm the Giants for the first two games of the season, wouldn't you?
So you just laid out a bunch of ifs, right? If
I did. No, I did.
Is this, if he's that, if he's this, if he's that. I mean, that doesn't feel like a quarterback who is okay. Where do you put Derek Carr as a quarterback in the NFL?
Yeah, I mean, I could see where you're going. I know where you're putting it, but I mean, there are occasions where he'll play a game where he misses on 2 passes, and he's the perfect vessel for whatever Gruden's cooking up. And then he'll throw a ball behind somebody when they're wide open on a crossing route, and if he puts it in front of him, that's 25 yards, and instead now we're 2nd and 10 or 3rd and 10, and I get what you're saying. I'm just, I guess, talking about a skill set. Like, if at his best, Daniel Jones should be a guy who can put some points on the board. And last night, my God, they could have put up 40 if they didn't have those mistakes, I mean, they could have been against a defense that we all consider, I think, in the NFL media as a pretty stout one, don't you think?
But that's what sets apart kind of the good from the great, right? Is not having those moments, right? Slayton's wide open. I saw Torrey Smith this morning tweet out that he thought that ball was just half a pace overthrown, and maybe it was. I mean, I'm not going to argue with him. He's played wide receiver for many years in the NFL, but again, does Pat Mahomes overthrow that guy, right? He's a bad example. He's the best quarterback, but does Derek Carr overthrow that guy? Probably not, right? It's little plays like that are made by the upper echelon quarterbacks. They're just not made by guys like Daniel Jones. And it's unfair to point to one throw in that game, but often those throws are the ones that make you the money, right? Those are the throws that, and the best example for this, by the way, I'm going to use this till the end of time, is the 2019 Super Bowl, right? Jimmy Garoppolo, it's the reason why they drafted Trey Lance. There were 2 plays in the fourth quarter. One, Kittle's wide open on 3rd down, doesn't throw to him, and that was the play design to go to Kittle. Just doesn't do it. Goes to someone else. Sanders, incomplete. And then again, on the next drive, Sanders open for a touchdown. The play is perfectly drawn up, perfectly executed. Ball's overthrown by 3 yards. It's 2 or 3 throws a game that set apart the average to the above average. And so far, Daniel Jones, to me, hasn't shown any ability to be that above average quarterback.
Geoff Schwartz, 8 years in the NFL, joining me here on the Rich Eisen Show. Get that number right? I know that you were. I got that number right. You're 8-year veteran, 9-year veteran. What?
Yes, 8. Yeah, 8.
I got that right. Okay. And so the Washington football team, do they have their guy, Taylor Heineke? What do you think? Is he the guy?
Yeah, I don't know. I have some Washington football team fans that argue with me back and forth, throughout the game about this too, right? Every quarter we update. Is Heineke the guy? I think that historically speaking, the answer would be no, right? We don't have a lot of players like him that end up being franchise-type quarterbacks, and there's a reason why they brought in Ryan Fitzpatrick. They thought that he's just a good backup and not really a starting quarterback type, but he played well last night. And I think just we need to see more of it. This is only his 3rd start. We need to see more of it. I would lean to no, just because, again, the history of the NFL isn't kind to quarterbacks that have his background. But there's always outliers, but I'm not sure he's the outlier. This is his 7th team now, 6th team now. I mean, that doesn't feel like a guy who's a franchise quarterback.
All right. So what game are you looking forward to this weekend, Geoff? Which game are you looking forward to?
Well, of course, Chiefs-Ravens, I'm looking forward to that one. I think the Chiefs are going to go in there and score a lot of points again, because the Ravens just don't adjust very well to what the Chiefs do on offense. And, starting 0-2 used to be the end of your season, essentially. Now, this year, because of 17 games, it might not be, right? That's it's something to think about as we go into this year. I think another game that's low-key interesting, the Niners and Eagles, right? The Eagles offensively, I watched a bunch of that game only because I foolishly bet on the Falcons as usual. And and Eagles offense looked good. I was their offensive line's back and healthy. Their defensive line was rushing the passer well. Hurts was efficient. He got the ball where it's supposed to be. A little bit of kind of that college-esque offense feel to it. But nonetheless, they look pretty good. And then again, Niners team obviously off an embarrassing final 3 minutes of the Lions game. If the Eagles win this game, a lot of us might have to change our opinion on what Jalen Hurts can be. So that's a kind of a low-key interesting game, because the Niners obviously didn't finish very well, which they'll come out kind of hot. But I'm kind of looking forward to seeing the Eagles offense.
You know what? Here on the Rich Eisen Show, Geoff, when you go higher register, it means you don't, you need to go there to believe what you're saying. I think you just went higher register on the entire Philadelphia Eagles. But I'll be honest, with Washington,
I want to see it.
I know with
I want to see it one more time.
With the Washington football team having their backup, despite him looking like he did last night. They still should have lost the game. The Giants being 0-2 again, and the Cowboys coming into the new stadium here to take on a Chargers team that looked terrific against Washington, and they're being banged up on their offensive line now and defensive line, or they've got Lyle Collins out and obviously banged up on their defensive line. The Eagles could, and I just want higher register too. The Eagles could, be 2-0 and have a nice start to this season for the NFC. So I hear you.
Yeah, they could. I was high on the Cowboys this year, and unfortunately, it feels like another foolish thing to do as usual. They're just kind of a wreck with injuries and suspensions and stuff. So yeah, the Eagles, if they get to a quick 2-0 lead on the division, obviously you have to feel good about the direction you're in. I think a lot of people made fun of that hire. It felt like a hire that was made just kind of as a mouthpiece for the front office. But if they go 2-0, obviously the Eagles will be laughing at everyone right now as early in the season.
If you could take stock in a rookie quarterback, which one would you take stock in? Only one. Which one would you take stock in?
Only one.
Long-term play.
I will do Trey Lance, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Because he has the best offensive coordinator out of all five of those guys. And when you play in that offense, you succeed, right? Everyone who has played in a Shanahan offense has had success, whether you are an average trait quarterback or above average trait, Aaron Rodgers MVP last year. Most often that offense is run with guys who have average traits because it's a stable offense to run. And Trey Lance has above average traits. Hasn't played very much football, but he has above average physical traits. And you give him the opportunity to play in an offense, assuming that him and Shanahan are paired together for a long time moving forward. I think he will have the best career because of that. It doesn't mean that the other guys are going to suck, but the offensive coordinator situation in Washington is just much better than it is in Chicago. Might not have Matt Nagy moving forward, right? What is Zach Wilson and the Jets? Urban Meyer, how long is he going to stay there? Mac Jones is in a good spot with Belichick and with Josh McDaniels. I just don't think he has the physical traits that Lance does.
How's your brother? How's Mitchell, Jeff?
He's putting out cooking videos once a week, and he's got little daily videos on breaking down film. He seems to be enjoying his season so far.
Okay. I know you want to speak for him, but is he feeling all right? Are we going to see him again? You think? In the NFL?
Look, his line is he is still rehabbing, and he is. I'm sure teams have called. I would be foolish if they didn't call. Like I'm sure the Ravens probably got on the phone Monday night and were like, "Hey, Mitch, how you feeling? Are you healthy to play?"
Right.
And so I don't know what he wants to do. He might just wait till halfway through the season and just play half season. I don't know. I know teams have called, but he's just enjoying life right now.
Well, and I called you this week, Geoff Schwartz, because you're an Oregon Duck, and I watched your team just absolutely just lay some wood in Columbus, Ohio last week, and we were looking for our toughest player on planet Earth award winner, and we spoke to Alex Forsythe. You're like, yeah, that would be a good choice, and you also counseled like, look, it's a unit, offensive line, and we're giving them free, all of them getting free glue. But what a kid! We really enjoyed getting to meet him. Jeff, he was really cool talking to the center of the Oregon Ducks and Alex Forsythe.
The Oregon offensive line coach said he's the most mentally tough player he's ever coached. And he donated the money to his dad's foundation, right? Yep. His scholarship foundation. So he's a great dude. He anchors that offensive line. Obviously, that was a huge win for our program. And then your Wolverines took down Washington. So you and Oregon are the leaders of the alliance so far.
Yes, we are. Yes.
Washington scored a total of 17 points all season. Great start for the Huskies this year. It was awesome to see Oregon get their recognition. And look, we got Stony Brook tomorrow.
Yeah. Come on. Don't even go. You can't even finish the sentence. Don't even. What's with Stony Brook? Come on.
I watched the Stony Brook, New Hampshire highlight on YouTube the other day from week 1. And my first thought was Oregon might injure everyone on Stony Brook. Like it's just like not a good D2 team or whatever division they're in.
What are they doing?
I feel bad for Stony Brook.
But it's just okay. Oregon Stony Brook, the matchup nobody saw coming or ever really needed or
is that
wanted.
off the board, Geoff? Can we bet on that? Like, what's the line?
So it's funny. It's not on the board right now. There is a game out west. There's Cal and Sac State, and Cal has started off the last 2 games up 2 scores, and they've lost both of them. I want to bet Cal first half, but I can't find a line so far. So I'm waiting. I've been patiently waiting.
Oh my God,
patiently waiting.
Jeff
and I are kindred spirits.
Cal Sac State first half line.
So Geoff Schwartz, who's got a podcast saying Geoff Schwartz is smarter than you, is admitting that he's spending part of his time as a human being on this planet, watching Stony Brook, what was it? New Hampshire highlights, right?
It was a 4-minute highlight on YouTube. I do daily Pac-12 radio, so I kind of.
No, I know you've got a gig and you have a life, Jeff. That's why I was pointed. That's where I was going. That you're saying that you're looking for Cal Sac State first half lines to bet on, and you've got stuff going on.
It's not up yet, unfortunately. I keep looking. It's not up yet. Come on, give me the first half. Give me the first half line, people. If it's anything like 14, I'm all over it.
Everybody should at Geoff Schwartz, Geoff Schwartz. Thank you very much, Geoff Schwartz. Appreciate the time. You be well.
Yeah, take care. Have a good one. Bye.
Geoff Schwartz, everybody.
Man, who knew Geoff Schwartz, my long-lost brother?
Yeah, please. Well, you've met him here. No. You've met him here. Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.